chosen ones. Someone right now is clinging to a narrative that's crumbling beneath their feet. They're standing at the edge of a grave they dug with their own hands, staring down into it, refusing to jump. But here's what makes this truly fascinating. They're not holding on to truth. They're gripping lies so tightly their knuckles have turned white, desperate for anyone who will listen to believe the fiction they've been spinning about you. Right now, at this very moment, there's someone manufacturing stories about your character, your gifts, your very essence, and pushing them out into the world with the kind of desperation that only comes from knowing deep down that their time is running out. This isn't about you at all. This is about them trying to prove something that was never real in the first place. And what I'm about to reveal will show you exactly why their efforts are already failing, why the universe has positioned you beyond their reach, and why their desperation is actually confirmation of something far greater unfolding in your life. There's something you need to understand about your current situation. Someone from your past has resurfaced, clutching onto memories and moments that should have been buried long ago. This could be a childhood friend, maybe even someone you once considered family, or perhaps an actual family member who never quite understood the path you were destined to walk. They're holding treasures from the past, but not in the way you'd think. These aren't precious keepsakes held with love. These are weapons. They've been digging through old memories, pulling out pieces of who you used to be, twisting your childhood moments and early struggles into ammunition. Think about it, those hours you spent alone as a child, finding peace in your own imagination, creating your own worlds because the real one felt unsafe. Those coping mechanisms you developed, the ways you learned to soothe yourself when no one else would. They're trying to weaponize your survival. Here's what they don't realize. When you take something pure and try to turn it into poison, it doesn't work the way you think it will. Your past isn't your weakness, it's the foundation of your strength. Every moment you spent alone, building inner worlds, developing your intuition, learning to trust yourself when others failed you, that wasn't isolation, that was preparation. You were being trained. You were developing gifts that most people never cultivate because they never had to dig that deep. But this person knows that you've transformed. They've watched you rise. They've seen the glow up, witnessed the evolution, and it's eating them alive. So they're going back, trying to find the old you, the struggling you, the uncertain you, hoping they can convince others that's who you still are. The rumors they're spreading have a particular flavor to them. They're saying you have unreasonably high expectations, that you're spoiled somehow, that you think too highly of yourself. Let that sink in. They're taking your standards and calling them entitlement. They're looking at your boundaries and calling them arrogance. They're witnessing your success and calling it pretense. There's more. They're whispering that you're not who you claim to be, that the gifts you possess don't come from a divine source but from something darker. They're suggesting you're hiding addictions, guarding secrets, pretending to be whole when you're actually broken. They want people to believe your life is a performance, that underneath the surface you're still that hurt child, still that struggling soul, just better at hiding it now. But here's what's actually happening in the spiritual realm. There's a magical protection around you that they cannot penetrate. Someone who passed over too soon is watching over you right now. This could be a grandparent, an elder who loved you deeply, someone who saw your potential even when you were small. Their presence is a shield. Every bit of negative energy being sent your direction is hitting that shield and bouncing straight back to sender. That's why their efforts feel so desperate. Nothing's landing, nothing's sticking. They're throwing everything they have at you and watching it all fall flat. The people they're telling these stories to aren't responding the way they hoped. There's no scandal, no outrage, no mob forming at your door. The individuals hearing these rumors are making their own quiet assessments. They're observing the messenger, not just the message. They're noticing the desperation, the obsession, the way this person can't seem to stop talking about you. They're watching someone who's supposed to be focused on their own life spend an unusual amount of energy monitoring yours, and they're drawing conclusions. When someone comes to your boss or your circle or your community with gossip about things you allegedly did as a child, things you supposedly struggle with now, people with emotional intelligence recognize what they're really witnessing. They're seeing someone who feels threatened. They're identifying jealousy dressed up as concern. Some are even speaking up, fighting your corner without you knowing. They're asking for evidence, demanding receipts, and when none materialize, they're dismissing the entire narrative. This person is operating from a place of scarcity that you don't even recognize anymore. They believe in competition, where you see abundance. They think someone has to lose for them to win. They're convinced that your success somehow diminishes their worth, that your beauty makes them less attractive, that your gifts invalidate theirs. But you're not in a race with them. You never were. You can't compete in a contest you didn't enter. They're running alone, checking over their shoulder for a rival who isn't even on the track. They're exhausting themselves fighting battles in their mind while you're walking a completely different path. And that's what terrifies them most. You're not engaged. You're not defending yourself. You're not spiraling or breaking down or giving them the reaction they crave. You're just continuing to grow. There's something else brewing beneath the surface. A connection exists between this person and someone else who may be entering your sphere with what appears to be an opportunity. This could manifest around certain months that feel significant. Pay attention to offers that seem too good to be true, especially if they come from someone connected to your past or tied to the person spreading these rumors. This isn't about being paranoid. This is about being wise. Someone may approach you with promises of financial support, career opportunities, or beneficial partnerships, but if they're linked to the energy that's been working against you, their motives aren't pure. They might be someone you knew in your youth, someone who's been watching your journey from a distance, harboring unspoken desires while trapped in broken dreams. The truth is, you intimidate people with your knowledge, your depth, your ability to see beyond the surface. There's something about what you know and how you know it that makes others uncomfortable. You've tapped into wisdom that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You've done the inner work, you've faced the shadows, you've integrated the lessons that others are still running from. And when you carry that kind of clarity, when you operate from that level of consciousness, it exposes everyone around you who's still living in denial. Your very presence asks questions they don't want to answer. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your peace reveals their chaos. And instead of looking inward, instead of doing their own work, they'd rather create a story where you're the problem. Remember when you set boundaries. Remember when you finally said no, when you stopped appeasing everyone around you, when you chose your own needs for once. That's when this really started, wasn't it? Someone in your life was used to you being small, manageable, available, accommodating. They were comfortable with the version of you that bent and adjusted and sacrificed. When you started honoring yourself, when you stopped performing for their comfort, they took it as betrayal. They responded with "we all have needs," as if wanting basic respect and reciprocity was somehow selfish. They pushed you back into appeasement mode, made you feel guilty for having requirements, convinced you that setting standards was the same as being demanding. But you see through that now. You recognize the manipulation. You understand that anyone who's threatened by your boundaries was benefiting from you not having any. What's fascinating is the surveillance energy around this situation. This person may literally be driving past your home, monitoring your social media obsessively, checking on your whereabouts, trying to piece together your life from the outside. They might be living in their car, metaphorically or literally, consumed with tracking your movements, fixated on your life to a degree that's genuinely concerning. There's private investigator energy here, someone trying to dig up dirt, find ammunition, discover something they can use against you. They're looking at your housing situation, your financial situation, trying to find weakness or instability they can exploit, but all they're finding is growth. All they're discovering is that you're thriving, and that makes them spiral even deeper into obsession. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Here's what they're really afraid of. They're worried about losing something or someone to you. There's a partner involved, someone they're with who they believe could be drawn to you. This person knows their relationship is fragile. They sense the cracks. They feel their partner's restlessness or dissatisfaction. And instead of addressing the actual problems in their relationship, instead of improving themselves or healing what's broken between them, they've decided you're the threat. You're the reason their relationship feels unstable. Never mind that you're not pursuing their partner. Never mind that you're focused on your own path. In their mind, you're the villain in a story they've written where they're the victim. They're so emotionally immature that they can't comprehend someone being attractive, successful, and spiritual without being a threat to their security. The universe is responding to all of this in ways they can't control. Opportunities are flowing toward you that have nothing to do with them. Money is coming, doors are opening, connections are forming, and none of it requires their permission or participation. The number 8 shows up as a symbol of infinite abundance, of flow, of manifestation on the physical plane. You're moving into a frequency where resources and recognition find you naturally because you've aligned yourself with your purpose. You're not chasing, you're not forcing, you're allowing. And that effortless quality to your success makes them even more resentful because they're trying so hard and getting nowhere while you're flowing forward with what looks like ease. But understand something crucial. Their desperation is your confirmation. When people are unbothered by your presence, they don't obsess. When someone is secure in themselves, they don't need to tear others down. When a person is genuinely happy, they're not monitoring someone else's life with this level of intensity. The fact that they're working this hard to discredit you proves that you're powerful. The fact that they're spending this much energy on rumors proves you're significant. The fact that they can't sleep at night thinking about you proves you've already won. You're living in their head rent-free while they don't occupy a single thought in yours. That imbalance of attention, that asymmetry of obsession, tells you everything you need to know about who holds the real power here. Your childhood treasures are resurfacing, but not as weapons. They're resurfacing as wisdom. All those moments of solitude, those times you had to rely on yourself, those experiences that forced you to develop inner resources, those weren't punishments, those were initiations. You were being forged in fires that would have destroyed weaker souls. You were learning to stand alone so that you'd never need validation from crowds. You were developing self-trust so deep that no amount of external doubt could shake it. The very things they're trying to use against you are the foundation of your unshakable strength. They don't understand that you've already integrated those experiences. You've already healed those wounds. You're not running from your past. You've transformed it into power. And here's where the story shifts completely. This cycle of death and rebirth they're trying to reverse, this natural progression they're attempting to stop, it can't be halted. What's ending needs to end. What's dying needs to die. The old version of you, the people who knew that version, the dynamics that sustained that version, all of it is composting into soil for your new life. They're trying to resurrect what should stay buried. They're attempting to keep alive a narrative that's already deceased. But you can't breathe life back into something the universe has declared complete. It's like trying to unring a bell, trying to unknow what you've learned, trying to unsee what you've witnessed. The transformation has already occurred. The metamorphosis is done. They're arguing with a conclusion that's already been reached. So what do you do with all this information? First, you cleanse. Clear your space of any residual energy that's been sent your way. This could be as simple as smoke cleansing your home, opening windows, playing high-frequency music, or whatever practice resonates with your spirit. Pay special attention to mirrors. Cleanse them regularly, because mirrors can hold and reflect energy. If someone's been trying to monitor you spiritually, if they've been attempting to see into your life through spiritual means, breaking that connection is important. You're not doing this from fear, you're doing this from wisdom. You're maintaining energetic hygiene the way you maintain physical hygiene. It's just part of taking care of yourself at all levels. Second, you keep your standards exactly where they are. Don't let anyone convince you that having requirements is problematic. Don't allow yourself to be gaslit into thinking boundaries are barriers. The right people will meet you where you are. The right opportunities will match your energy. You don't need to lower yourself to prove you're accessible. You don't need to dim your light to make others comfortable. Anyone who suggests otherwise is simply revealing they don't qualify for access to you. Let that be information, not an invitation to change. Third, you proceed with discernment around new offers. Blessings are coming, opportunities are manifesting, but not everything that glitters is gold. Not everyone bearing gifts has good intentions. When something feels off, honor that feeling. When someone's timing seems suspicious, trust your gut. When an offer comes with strings attached or seems designed to pull you back into old dynamics, decline gracefully. Your intuition has been sharpened by experience. Use it. The universe will never require you to compromise your peace for a blessing. Real opportunities don't come wrapped in manipulation. Fourth, understand that some people are going through their own private hell right now because of their choices. The person spreading rumors about you is likely experiencing their own karmic return. They're in a relationship that's unfulfilling. They're battling insomnia because their conscience won't rest. They're exhausted from maintaining lies. They're trapped in patterns they can't break. That's not your responsibility to fix, and you're not being cruel by allowing them to face the consequences of their actions. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people experience the full weight of their choices so they finally become motivated to change. Your job isn't to rescue them from the discomfort that might actually lead to their growth. Fifth, recognize that people around you are smarter than the gossiper assumes. Your community, your colleagues, the people who matter, they're making their own assessments. They see your work ethic, they witness your integrity. They observe how you handle conflict, how you treat others, how you show up consistently, even when things are hard. That's building a reputation that no amount of slander can touch. Real credibility isn't established through words, it's proven through sustained action over time. You've been building that proof. The people who matter are taking notes. They're watching not just what you do, but who's attacking you and why. And they're drawing their own conclusions. Sixth, stay focused on your purpose. This drama is happening in the margins of your life, not at the center. Don't give it center stage. Don't let someone else's dysfunction become your main storyline. You're building something significant. You're developing gifts that will serve others. You're creating a legacy that will outlast this noise. Keep your eyes on that prize. Let the distractions remain in your peripheral vision where they belong. The moment you turn your full attention to defending yourself against every false claim is the moment you take your attention off your destiny. Don't make that trade. It's not worth it. There's a cosmic justice unfolding that you can't see yet, but you'll recognize in hindsight. The very things this person is falsely accusing you of, they're actually embodying. They're projecting their own addictions, their own deceptions, their own failures onto you. They're describing themselves, but using your name. That's what projection always is, a confession disguised as an accusation. And the universe has a way of making that crystal clear eventually. Their own words will become their testimony. Their own accusations will reveal their true nature. You don't have to defend yourself. Time and truth will do that work. Your only job is to keep moving forward, keep growing, keep ascending to the levels you're meant to reach. The protection around you right now is multidimensional. You're being guarded by ancestors who understand your journey because they walked similar paths. You're being shielded by spiritual forces that recognize your purpose. You're being covered by the simple fact that you're aligned with truth, and truth has a resonance that lies can never match. Even when lies are louder, truth vibrates at a frequency that the soul recognizes. People might not be able to articulate why they don't believe the rumors about you, but something inside them knows it doesn't ring true. That's divine protection operating through human discernment. That's the universe working through the consciousness of everyone around you to preserve your path. Lucky sevens are showing up as confirmation. Things are aligning in your favor in ways you haven't even noticed yet. Numbers you keep seeing, signs you keep encountering, synchronicities that seem too perfect to be random. Those aren't coincidences. Those are confirmations that you're exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you should be doing. The universe speaks in symbols and patterns for those who know how to listen. You're receiving messages constantly that this is your time, that your elevation is divinely ordained, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Keep paying attention to those signs. They're breadcrumbs on a path that's already been prepared for you. Someone is going to have to make a decision soon. Either this couple will face their own dysfunction honestly, or they'll implode under the weight of all this projected blame. Either the person spreading rumors will exhaust themselves into silence, or they'll escalate to a point where they expose their own instability to everyone watching. Either way, their story is reaching its conclusion. The narrative they've been pushing is collapsing under scrutiny. The lies are becoming too elaborate to maintain. The energy required to sustain the fiction is draining them dry. You don't need to do anything to hasten this process. It's happening on its own, propelled by the simple physics of unsustainable systems eventually breaking down. What's emerging on the other side of all this turmoil is a version of you that's even more refined, even more focused, even more powerful. Every false accusation you didn't respond to strengthened your self-control. Every rumor you didn't dignify with defense deepened your confidence. Every moment you chose your path over their drama reinforced your sovereignty. You're being built into someone who can hold massive success without ego, someone who can wield significant influence without corruption, someone who can access profound gifts without spiritual arrogance. That level of character development only comes through fire. The test isn't whether you can win arguments. The test is whether you can maintain your integrity when you're being lied about, and you're passing with honors. Now let's talk about what's really happening with your work and your daily routines. There's been a shift in how you approach your responsibilities, how you structure your time, how you take care of your physical vessel. You've been paying attention to nutrition in ways you didn't before. You've been analyzing patterns in your life with greater clarity. You've been refining your daily habits to support the frequency you're trying to maintain. And this person spreading rumors is threatened by that too. They're watching you become more disciplined, more focused, more intentional, and it highlights their own lack of structure. They see you thriving in your routine while they're chaotic in theirs. They see you nourishing yourself properly while they're still trapped in destructive patterns. Your wellness is an indictment of their neglect. The work you're doing right now isn't just about career or money. It's about service. It's about developing skills and gifts that will eventually serve a community, a movement, a collective need that's much larger than you. That's what chosen ones are being prepared for, not just personal success but collective impact. You're being trained to hold space for others who will walk similar paths. You're being equipped with tools that you'll eventually teach others to use. You're being refined in the fire so that you can guide others through flames without getting burned. This person attacking you doesn't understand that dimension of your journey. They think it's about competition, about status, about who's better than whom. They can't comprehend that you're operating on a completely different frequency with completely different goals. There's something about your spiritual practice that particularly unsettles them. Maybe you've developed abilities they don't understand. Maybe you see things they can't see. Maybe you know things before they happen. Maybe you have access to wisdom that seems to come from nowhere. And instead of being curious, instead of asking how you develop these gifts, they're trying to discredit the source. They're suggesting your abilities come from dark places because they can't fathom that someone could be genuinely connected to divine guidance. That tells you more about their spiritual poverty than it does about your practice. People who are connected recognize connection in others. People who are disconnected see everything through the lens of their own separation. The accusations about addiction are particularly revealing. They're projecting what they struggle with onto you. Maybe they're addicted to drama, addicted to chaos, addicted to the adrenaline rush of creating conflict. Maybe they're addicted to substances or behaviors that keep them numb. Maybe they're addicted to the victim narrative that allows them to avoid responsibility for their lives. Whatever their addiction is, they're trying to smear you with it, but the people who know you see right through it. They see someone who shows up consistently, who delivers on commitments, who maintains clarity and presence. You can't fake that over time. Addiction leaves tracks, dysfunction leaves evidence. Your life isn't showing any of those signs, which is why the accusations aren't landing. Let's address the beauty angle, because this is significant. Someone is obsessed with your physical appearance in a way that's genuinely unhealthy. They're fixated on how you look, how you've transformed, how you've glowed up over time. They're comparing themselves to you constantly and coming up short in their own estimation. This isn't about you being objectively better looking. This is about them being unable to see their own beauty because they're so consumed with monitoring yours. They're trapped in a comparison game that has no winners. Meanwhile, you're probably not even thinking about your appearance in those terms. You're just taking care of yourself, honoring your body, expressing your authentic style. But to them, every picture you post, every outfit you wear, every compliment you receive is a personal attack. That's exhausting for them, liberating for you. The emotional immaturity showing up here is staggering. We're talking about someone who never learned how to regulate their emotions, process their feelings, or take responsibility for their inner world. They're still operating from a childhood place where everything that hurts must be someone else's fault. They haven't done the work to understand that pain is information, that discomfort is feedback, that jealousy is just showing you where you want to grow. They're stuck in reaction mode, bouncing from one emotional storm to another, leaving destruction in their wake. And somehow they've convinced themselves that you're the problem. The mental gymnastics required to maintain that delusion would be impressive if it wasn't so sad. There's a travel opportunity coming that's connected to all of this. Maybe it's literal travel to a place that will shift your perspective, open new doors, introduce you to people who will become significant. Or maybe it's metaphorical travel, a mental journey into new philosophies, new ways of thinking, new belief systems that expand your consciousness. Either way, movement is coming, change is coming, and this person knows they can't follow where you're going. They can sense you're outgrowing the environment you shared. They can feel you expanding beyond the limitations they're still trapped in. That's part of why they're clinging so desperately to these false narratives. If they can't come with you, they want to anchor you in place. Your faith is under attack because faith is what allows you to move forward without proof. Faith is what permits you to trust the process, even when you can't see the outcome. Faith is what keeps you grounded when everything around you is shaking. This person sees your faith and wants to break it. They want to introduce doubt. They want to make you question yourself, question your path, question the guidance you've been receiving. But here's what they don't understand. Faith that can be shaken by lies wasn't real faith to begin with. Real faith deepens under attack. Real faith grows stronger when tested. Every attempt to undermine your spiritual foundation is actually reinforcing it, proving to you that what you're standing on is solid. The financial abundance coming your way is making them physically ill. They're watching opportunities open for you that they believe should be theirs. They're seeing money flow to you that they think they deserve more. They're witnessing success manifesting in your life while they're still struggling. And instead of asking what you're doing differently, instead of examining their own blocks and limitations, they're trying to sabotage your blessings. They're spreading rumors to potential collaborators, planting seeds of doubt with people who might invest in you, attempting to poison wells before you even arrive. But the universe doesn't work that way. What's meant for you can't be blocked by someone else's interference. The right opportunities will find you regardless of what anyone says. There's a secret they think you're hiding, and they're determined to expose it. But the secret isn't what they think it is. The secret is simply that you've done the work they refuse to do. The secret is that you've faced shadows they're still running from. The secret is that you've healed wounds they're still bleeding from. The secret is that you've chosen growth over comfort, truth over convenience, evolution over stagnation. That's the secret. There's no scandal, There's no hidden darkness. There's just someone who's committed to their own transformation, standing in front of someone who's still committed to their own victimhood. And that gap between you is widening every day. The dreams and nightmares happening around this situation are significant. This person is probably having disturbed sleep, waking up in cold sweats, dreaming about you in ways that reveal their obsession. They're being haunted by their own conscience, tormented by the gap between what they're saying and what they know is true. Meanwhile, you might be receiving dreams that offer guidance, that show you the bigger picture, that reassure you about the path ahead. Pay attention to those dreams, write them down, look for patterns and messages. Your subconscious is processing information your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. Your dreams are showing you the truth of situations before the evidence appears in physical reality. The relationship this person is in is crumbling, and they know it. That's why they're so threatened by you. They're not afraid you'll steal their partner. They're afraid their partner will wake up and realize they have options, that they don't have to stay in dysfunction, that better exists. You represent the possibility of something healthier, something more authentic, something more aligned, and that possibility is terrifying to someone who's built their identity around being needed, being indispensable, being the only option. Your very existence challenges the lie they've been telling their partner about what's possible in relationship. You're not trying to challenge it, you're just living your truth. But truth always exposes lies simply by existing. The people defending you, fighting your corner, speaking up on your behalf, they might not even tell you they're doing it. They might be having quiet conversations, shutting down gossip before it spreads, correcting false narratives in rooms you'll never enter. That's real loyalty. That's authentic friendship. That's divine protection working through human vessels. You don't need to know every battle being fought on your behalf. You don't need to see every door that's being closed to your enemies or every door that's being opened for you. You just need to trust that the same force that brought you this far isn't going to abandon you now. There's a cleansing that needs to happen, and it's not just about smoke or sound. It's about releasing the need to be understood by people who are determined to misunderstand you. It's about letting go of the fantasy that if you just explain yourself clearly enough, they'll finally see the truth. They don't want to see the truth. They want to maintain their narrative. So your cleansing is about accepting that and moving forward anyway. Your cleansing is about washing your hands of the entire situation, blessing everyone involved, and walking away with your peace intact. Your cleansing is about reclaiming the energy you've been spending on worrying about what they're saying and redirecting it toward building what you're creating. The offering coming toward you needs to be examined carefully. Not everything that looks like blessing is blessing. Not everyone who approaches with gifts has clean hands. Someone connected to this messy situation might try to position themselves as your benefactor, your supporter, your ally. But if they're tied to the chaos, they're not bringing peace. They might offer money, opportunities, connections, resources. But if it requires you to compromise your boundaries, tolerate disrespect, or re-engage with toxic dynamics, the price is too high. Real blessings don't cost you your peace. Real opportunities don't require you to betray yourself. Real abundance flows freely without manipulation attached. This person is suffering in silence, but not in the way they want people to think. They're not the noble martyr bearing their pain quietly. They're the guilty party who can't confess, the liar who can't remember which version of the story they told to whom, the betrayer who can't face what they've done. Their silence isn't strength, it's cowardice. It's the inability to own their actions and make amends, and that silence is eating them alive from the inside out. Meanwhile, your silence is powerful. Your silence is strategic. Your silence is the calm confidence of someone who knows their truth doesn't need defending. Same word, completely different energy. The harmony that's coming, the balance that's arriving, the peace that's manifesting, it's all on the other side of this chaos. You had to go through this to get there. You had to experience this level of attack, to develop this level of protection. You had to face this degree of lies to become unshakable in your truth. You had to witness this depth of jealousy to fully appreciate your own blessings. Nothing is wasted in the universe. Every experience is purposeful. Every challenge is curriculum. Every enemy is actually a teacher, showing you where you need to fortify, where you need to grow, where you need to establish clearer boundaries. There's a birth coming, and it's not necessarily a physical baby. It's the birth of a new identity, a new level of your business, a new phase of your journey. This new beginning is what they're trying to prevent. They can sense something emerging from you that will make you unreachable. They can feel you graduating to a level where their opinion won't matter anymore. They know that once this new version of you is born, the old dynamics die permanently. That's why they're working so hard right now. They're trying to prevent an inevitable transformation. They're trying to stop a birth that's already in labor. It's not going to work. What's coming through is coming through regardless. Your nutrition journey is symbolic of your entire transformation. The way you're learning to nourish your body reflects how you're learning to nourish your soul. The way you're becoming conscious about what you consume physically mirrors how you're becoming conscious about what you consume mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You're learning discernment at every level. You're developing the ability to recognize what feeds you and what drains you. This person is still consuming poison and wondering why they feel sick. They're still taking in toxic thoughts, toxic media, toxic relationships, and confused about why their life is chaos. They see you thriving on a clean diet of thoughts, connections, and experiences, and they're offended instead of curious. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation, and attacks, while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition, and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. The timing of all this is divinely orchestrated. Certain months are highlighted as significant, as turning points, as moments when everything shifts. Pay attention to those times. That's when opportunities will crystallize. That's when decisions will need to be made. That's when the old finally releases its grip and the new fully emerges. This person knows the clock is ticking. They can feel the window closing. That's why there's such urgency to their attacks right now. They're trying to accomplish their sabotage before you become untouchable, but they're too late. The transformation already happened. They're fighting against something that's already complete. They're trying to reverse a process that's irreversible. Chosen ones, here's what you need to carry forward from this entire situation. You are not what anyone says about you. You are what you know yourself to be in the quiet moments when no one's watching. You're not defined by someone else's jealousy, insecurity, or need to make you small so they can feel big. Your worth isn't up for debate. Your gifts aren't subject to popular vote. Your purpose doesn't require consensus. You were chosen long before this drama started, and you'll remain chosen long after it ends. The desperation of your detractors is inversely proportional to your destiny. The harder they work to diminish you, the more it confirms you're headed somewhere they can't follow. Let that person exhaust themselves, proving rumors that were never real. Let them waste their energy on campaigns that will never succeed. Meanwhile, you just keep walking forward into the life that's been calling your name since before you took your first breath. That's the real story. That's the truth no lie can touch. And that's why, despite everything they've tried, you're still standing, still growing, still rising toward everything you were created to become.